Hi there. It's April the 14th, and in our journey through the book of Joshua, that Hebrew scriptures define as one of the former prophets, we come to chapters 9 and 10. In chapter 9, the Gibeonites, the inhabitants of Gibeon, which is a city which is within Canaan, they perpetrate a fraud on Israel so that they protect themselves. They declare themselves that they've heard that Israel is going to destroy all of the inhabitants of the land, and so in an act of self-protection and self-interest, they come to Israel and they present themselves as having journeyed a long, long way. And they have things like moldy bread and worn-out clothes, and so they present themselves and they lie to Joshua and to the Israelites, saying that they want to make peace with Israel because they've heard that Israel is a very mighty nation, but actually they don't live in the land, they come from a long way away. There's a very telling sentence in Joshua 9 that says, "So they tasted their food, but they did not inquire of the Lord." And there's something here about the importance of talking to God and of bringing God in on every situation, every decision we make. Because of this fraud, and because of their not consulting God, the people of Israel make a covenant with the people of Gibeon. Now it's very interesting to note here, the people of Gibeon understand covenant, or berit in Hebrew, and they ask for Israel to cut a covenant, karat berit, with them. And Israel, having made this covenant, are bound by it because they've promised by their Lord, by the Lord God, to keep the covenant. They now are bound to the Gibeonites, and not only are they bound to the Gibeonites, but as we'll see in the next chapter, they are bound to their protection and their defense. This is a very good example of the power of covenant. The covenant is so powerful that even here, when Israel has made covenant with these people who've defrauded them, they cannot go back on their word. They cannot undo the covenant that they've made. So in the next chapter, chapter 10, the surrounding nations or surrounding cities and their leaders are concerned that Gibeon has now made peace, or has now made a covenant with Israel, and so the other cities, that is particularly the kings of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Lachish, the king of Yarmut, and the king of Eglon, they come together in an alliance and they attack Gibeon. Now, because the city of Gibeon is now in covenant with Israel, the Gibeonites send to Joshua and they say, "Help, come and defend us because these other kings are attacking us." By the way, it's interesting that the king of Jerusalem, his name is Adoni-Tzedek, which means Lord of Righteousness. And if we remember back in Genesis, we met Melchizedek, the king of righteousness. So this seems to be a dynasty that has in it its name Tzedek. But the Jerusalem is one of the kings, is one of the tribes who come and they attack Gibeon. So Joshua and the Israelites come and they manage to haul the 5 kings that have come together up in a cave. And there's this miraculous standing still of the sun for a day. So that they can pursue the battle and so that they can win the battle. And they enclose the 5 kings in a cave, and then eventually, after they have destroyed the troops, they bring out the kings, they kill the kings. Very bloody, very retributive sort of occurrences here that are going on. But then, having killed the kings, they then go on to attack the cities. And they make the cities their property, and they take it into their own kingdom. But of course Gibeon is not destroyed in that way. But what they have done to Gibeon, at the end of chapter 9 we read that because Gibeon has defrauded them, they make slaves of the Gibeonites, and the Gibeonites become servants of the tabernacle, servants of the temple later on, and they are made to serve Israel. We learn then from this story the power of covenant and the unbreakability of the vows that are made through covenant. We also learn from this story the importance of consulting God at every turn and not doing our own thing, not going by the sight of our eyes, but inquiring of God as to what his intentions are. Because of these compromises that Israel make, they are weakened, and this leads on to their gradual decline that is coming later in the book of Judges. Have a very good April the 14th.